Hi everyone, welcome to our online yin practice together this week. This class, if you have two blocks, that would be awesome. If not, use something that could work as blocks. A bolster, if you have one. If you don't have a bolster, a pillow or two will work just fine. Grab your comfortable clothes, your mat, whatever else you think you might need, blanket, socks, whatever's going to keep you as comfortable as you can be for a yin practice. And then let us begin on our backs. So starting off in either pentacle pose where the legs are a little wider than the mat, the arms are overhead and wide with the palms facing up, creating an X shape with the body, if that works for you. If you prefer corpse pose, as I do, so just regular corpse pose, Shavasana, laying with the legs a little wider than hip width distance, maybe as wide as your mat if that feels good, letting the toes roll out. Arms comfortably at your sides with the palms facing up. And as always, kind of wiggle and adjust yourself so that you can be comfortable here. And then close your eyes. And just taking a moment to fully arrive here. Noticing our starting point. So noticing, what have you brought with you onto your mat today? So not just physically, how is the body feeling and how are you physically going into this practice, but what stuff is going on in your mind? What are you mentally bringing with you onto your mat? And then see if we can begin to let go of all that mental chatter, all that clutter within the mind. So beginning to let go of our to-do lists, of our grocery lists, of all the things that are kind of pulling us here and there mentally. So we've set aside this hour to practice. Can we really be right here? So put everything off to the side for now. And then let's bring our awareness to the breath. And to start, just notice your breath. So just feel it. Just notice it. And it's almost automatic when someone brings awareness to our breath, or when we bring awareness to our breath, we almost automatically and immediately start to kind of lengthen and deepen it. And that's okay, just notice it. Know that you don't have to change it just yet. And then start to lengthen and deepen it. And then today, see if you can get your exhalations to match your inhalations in length. So inhaling for a count of anywhere between 4, 5, 6, even 7. And then exhale for that same number, that same amount of length and time. Two more full deep breaths. And then slow the breath back down. Come back to your natural, normal breath. You you might blink your eyes open, you might keep them closed here. Just start to rock your head from side to side a few times, massaging the back of the head. Just really gentle movement. And then slowly bring your head back to center. And then from here, let's move into our first shape. So we're going to hug the left knee in towards the chest. Coming into a twist here, the right hand is going to help guide the knee across the body. So you might use your bolster here. I'm going to reach for mine. You might bring your bolster or block or any kind of prop that you have underneath the knee. Whatever works for you, just to kind of support the knee, or you don't have to use anything at all. Arms might be out into a T-shaped position. You might cactus the arms. You might have another position that works better for you. There's no right or wrong here with this one. Find what works for you. Soften your shoulders and your head the same thing. So you might have it facing the knee. You might have your head upright. You might turn your head towards that left hand, so away from the knee. Find what works again, and then settle in. And then again, I'll go over our key principles in Yin as I always do. So there's 3 key principles in Yin. The first one being softness. So our muscles are cool and relaxed. We come into each pose really respectfully, really mindfully. We're not pushing or striving or straining, trying to get somewhere deeper into the pose. We're just letting the body open naturally, really softly. And then the second key principle is stillness. So once we get into the shape, get into each pose, we adjust our props as needed, and then we stay as still as we can in the posture. So we try and avoid fidgeting and wiggling and movement as much as we possibly can. But pain or panic or any combination of those two are our tickets out of a pose. So if you're feeling pain or panic, please do come out of the pose. But if it's simply discomfort, see if you can stay. So see if you can find that stillness. And then our third and final key principle is steadiness. So we get into these shapes, and then we stay for a significant amount of time. So we're not reaching and stretching to our max stretch, because we're in each pose for quite a number of minutes for some of these poses. And so we let the body open up naturally. We let time do the work for us. And so notice how you're feeling in this moment, and see if and where you can soften more. And take just a few more full and deep breaths here. If your head is off to one side, bring the head back to center, and then really slowly return to the spine. And we're going to slowly hug both knees into the chest, unless it feels better for you to reach and extend your legs long. So take always what works best in your body. This is just our counter pose, our rebound pose, our moment between the poses to notice. Notice the difference between one side and the other. Notice if anything's coming up for you, not just physically but mentally and emotionally as well. We're never in any rush to move on in yin, so moving really slowly and gently. Let's switch sides from here. So this time the right knee stays hugged in, left leg extends long, and your left hand is going to help guide the knee over and across the body to the left. Again, a prop if you need underneath the knee. Good, arms as you wish. Try and do the same thing you did on the first side. And then again, your choice with the head and the neck. And then settle in. Noticing if this side feels different. Notice if you're holding any tension anywhere in the body. There's no particular breathing style in yin, but it's just that constant, gentle reminder to bring the awareness back to breath. Keep the awareness on your breath as much as possible. Trying to get used to familiarize ourselves with not just these long holds and stilling the body, but getting used to moments of stillness within the mind. And notice our reactions and how we handle when we do get really still and really quiet, or when we try to. Notice what comes up for us. Taking a few more full, deep, and intentional breaths here. Last few moments in our twist. This is our only twist today. Enjoy these last couple breaths. And if your head is turned in one direction, bring it back to center. Engage the core and slowly bring the knees back in towards your chest. Good. If you prefer to stretch the legs out long, again, option to do whatever feels right in your body. Good. And really slowly and mindfully rolling onto your side. Staying here for a breath or two. Moving perhaps slower than we want to. And then with the support of your hand or hands, press yourself up to seated. So a comfortable seat. And then stretch the legs out in front of you. Let your feet kind of flop open. So again, we're not pushing or striving. Let your knees have a slight bend in them if needed. We're going to find caterpillar pose here. So it might just be sitting upright with a slight tuck of the chin towards the chest. You might start to fold a little deeper, maybe your head to a block. I always like to use a bolster So you could put the bolster lengthwise and bow forward that way. You might bring it, I sometimes like to bring it across the legs so I have somewhere for my forearms to rest. You could stack a bolster block underneath the bolster if that works for you. Just see what works and then find a comfortable fold. So again, we're not going to our maximum stretch here. Settle in. As we move into each shape, after a few breaths, a few moments into the pose, noticing our tendencies, our patterns to where we kind of hold on or where we grip, where we hold tension, and then see if you can soften even more. So the backs of the legs, this is where we're stretching the lower back. Send the breath into those areas of tension or tightness. Relax your fingers. Notice the mind's tendency to wander. Usually wanders either thinking of things in the past, things that have already happened, or we're most often thinking in the future, so things to come, whether it's later on today, or this week, or this month, or this year, or 5 years from now. But can we truly be present? So the more we can come onto our mats and find this presence on our mat, the more that we can do that in our everyday lives off of our mats as well. So yoga and meditation teach us how to be mindful, how to be more mindful. Come back to your breath if you've lost that connection. And you may stay exactly as you are, or you might have noticed you've opened up a little bit here and you might like to go a little deeper. You might be getting rid of a prop or a layer of props. There's no need to go deeper if you're feeling enough stretch where you are. It's just if you feel the body's open and you'd like to go a little deeper without force or strain. Here for about 1 more minute. Take your last few full deep breaths here in Caterpillar. And really slowly, with the support of your hands, bring your hands to the mat to slowly bring yourself up. Props move off to the side for now. And you might just lean back on your hands behind you if that feels good. You might prefer to bend the knees. Take what feels right, just a moment in between the poses, the postures. So yin is a real adjustment for us when we're used to a vinyasa practice, when we're really kind of fast-paced, used to go, 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 go. And the more you kind of are that personality type, the more you actually need to slow down. So yin is great for people who are go, go, go. Really helps us to slow everything down, helps us to let go. And then from here, again, moving slower than maybe you want to. If your legs are straight, put a bend in the knees. Let's cross at the ankles. Come on to all fours, so our tabletop position. And then into Sleeping Swan, which if you practiced with me last week, we did Sleeping Swan, so known as pigeon pose in our vinyasa practice. We're gonna slide the left knee behind the left wrist, right leg back behind. And then we're going to fold forward. So you may just fold forward without your props. I like to use a bolster underneath the chest and the belly. Anything that's going to help you be able to stay still in the pose. Good. And then when you're ready, slowly bowing forward over either the floor or your prop. And then settling in. Maybe close the eyes. So in our Sleeping Swan here, we're stimulating the stomach and spleen meridians, which are associated with feelings of worry and contentment. We're also stimulating the gallbladder meridian here, which is associated with anger and compassion. So just noticing what comes up for you here, what comes up for you in this shape within your body. Just notice. Notice where the mind is in this moment. Bring it back if needed. Focus on your breath. Feel the inhales moving in through the nose and out through the nose. Let the exhale really wash over you. Soften the jaw. Noticing any tendency to clench the jaw, grit your teeth. Just notice and adjust accordingly. Maybe slightly opening the mouth. Maybe placing the tip of the tongue between the teeth, which I often do. Maybe bringing your tongue to the roof of your mouth, just behind the teeth. That helps as well. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Relax every finger. Relax your toes. Relax the belly. And can we be right here in this moment? This is the only moment that we are guaranteed. This one right here. Take your last few full, deep, intentional breaths here. And slowly, with the help of your hands, to press yourself up. We'll slide into a child's pose, so slide the left knee back, right one forward, props off to the side for a moment, and then just sink into any variation of child's pose that works for you. Knees might be together, they might be wide, they might be somewhere in between. Relax the forehead, relax the forearms. Breathing into the hips. Noticing the sensations in the left hip compared to the right. Just really feeling the effects of the shape. And then slowly make your way back onto a fourth. Good, and then let's set up for the second side. So this time right knee slides behind the right wrist, left leg back behind, relax the toes. Good, and then bring your bolster again in front of you if you're using it, and then slowly start to fold yourself over your props. Adjust as needed, taking the first few moments to soften and settle, and then find that stillness.
Noticing how this right hip feels compared to the last. Is there anywhere in your body you're holding unnecessary tension? So check in with your fingers. Check in with your shoulders. Again, check in with the jaw. Relax through the toes. Notice if you're holding yourself up. See if you can get really heavy within the hips. Let gravity do the work here. Noticing again mentally and emotionally what comes up. How are you feeling in this moment? This is a pose that many people love, but it's also a pose, a shape that many people struggle with. So just notice what is the case for you. How do you handle poses that you do struggle with? Just notice as we go. I am going to share with you a poem today, and it says, "Let whatever you do today be enough. Let go of the judgment you have about what you should be or could be doing. And today, allow yourself to simply be. Quiet the voice telling you to do more and be more, and trust that in this moment, who you are, where you are at, and what you are doing is enough. You will get to where you need to be in your own time. Until then, breathe. Breathe and be patient with yourself and your process. You are doing the best you can to cope and survive amid your struggles, and that's all you can ask of yourself. It's enough. You are enough." So take your last few full deep breaths here, breathing into those words, you are enough. Two more breaths. And slowly, with the support of your hands, pressing yourself back up, making your way back to child's pose again, really slow movement. Take the variation again that works for you. Rest the head, rest the belly, rest the chest. For this next shape, we're going to look towards the hands and then just slide yourself onto the belly. So slowly making your way onto the belly. Stretch your legs out behind you. And then take your left arm and reach it out to the left. Make sure the hand is coming right in line with the shoulder. Nice straight line there. And then with your right hand, you're going to use your right hand to help roll yourself onto your left hip. So you come onto your left hip. If your head is off the ground here, you can always bring a pillow or a block underneath the head. I'll show you what that would look like. So it might be with the head resting on the block if the head doesn't touch the floor. Good. And then from here, your legs might stay straight. You might stay as you are. You might put a bend into your knees. If you wanted to deepen things, you might step your right leg to the mat or floor behind you. That does intensify things. So play around with what works for you. Your right hand might stay where it is. You could take a bind and reach it behind you with the palm facing away from you. To see what works for you, especially if you've never been in this shape. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with this shape. And then find what's going to work for you, and then find some stillness. We won't stay in this shape as long as we were in the other ones. I never stay as long in these ones for the shoulders as I do for the hips or the back, but let's see if we can really find a stillness here. Last few full breaths. If you have the bind and your right arm's back behind you, bring your right hand back to the mat to help roll yourself onto your belly. So re-straighten the legs if they're bent. Come back onto the belly. And then just bring your hands to touch. So one hand on top of the other. Forehead on top of the hands. Or you might turn your cheek to one side. Just a moment again between sides. Notice how that left shoulder is feeling compared to the right. Okay, if your head is off to one side, bring it back to center. And then the other side, we'll straighten out the right arm. Make sure The hand's coming right out of the shoulder. Use your left hand again to help. Now roll yourself onto the right hip. Good, legs maybe straight, maybe bend the knees. Try and do the same thing you did on the first side. And then again, option to take a bind here. Take one if you took one on the last side. And then close your eyes or keep your gaze really soft. Notice where the mind is. Notice if the thoughts go in another direction when you're in a hip opener versus a stretch for the shoulders. Just notice. Notice the quality of your breath. And again, does your breath change in this shape? Take your last few most mindful breaths. If you've taken a bind here, slowly release the bind. Left hand back to the mat. Straighten out the legs if they're bent. Slowly roll yourself back onto the belly. And then again, just bend the elbows. Bring one palm on top of the other. Either forehead to the hands or turn your head in the opposite direction if you turn to one side. And bring your head back to center. Hands underneath us. Slowly press yourself up to seated. And then swing the legs out in front of us. So the legs will come straight out in front. And then for this next pose, we're coming into half saddle. So for this one, let's lean into your right hand. Swing your left leg back behind you. And just notice and be really mindful of your knee here. So in yin, it's okay to take the knee a little wider if that feels better, but just really mindful of your knee. So again, no pain, no panic. And we are going to either potentially make our way onto our back, but if this is enough, stay here. If this is too much, you might slide a block underneath your sitting bones and stay right there. This is a lot, or could be a lot. And then from here, if you wanted to go a little deeper, you might bring your bolster lengthwise right up against your low back, so right up against the sacrum. If you don't have a bolster, you could always line up a couple blocks and then put a pillow on top, whatever works for you. You might recline all the way back. For yin, I like to use a prop, but it is completely up to you. And then with the support of your bolster, if you're using one, grab a hold of it, and then really slowly and mindfully lower yourself down onto your prop. Good, arms, wherever works for you.
palms facing up if that works, just to encourage the chest to open even more, the shoulders to open. And this can be a lot on the quad. And so again, just be really mindful of sensation. If you've come down onto your back and it's too much, please back out a little bit. So if you're feeling already that you're at your kind of maximum stretch and it's feeling very intense right now, you probably want to back out a little, and that might mean even just coming up onto the forearms. Just come out a little if needed, because we do want to be able to maintain that stillness and just stay where we are for several minutes here. So find the softness, and then we find the stillness. And then as time rolls on, we find the steadiness. Notice the expression on your face. See if you're holding any unnecessary tension in your face. Relax. Notice the quality of your breath in this shape, and see if it's changed. Find that stillness within your mind. Notice how you're handling the silence and stillness.
here for about another minute. Really be present. Last couple deep breaths. And then with the support of your hands, slowly come onto the forearms if you're all the way down, and then use your hands to help press yourself back up. Lean into your right hand again so that we can swing our left leg forward. And then just take a few moments in between sides, whether you want to bend your knees and lean back, whatever works for you. And if the knees are bent, let's straighten out the legs. And now lean into your left hand to swing your right leg back behind you. Again, sit up on a block if needed, or even two sometimes if needed. You might be sitting upright. This is already can be a lot on the quad. So stay right here if you need. Otherwise, using the support of your bolster pillow, slowly lower gently back down. Right away, notice if this side feels any different than the last. Visualize the breath going right into the quad, right into the stretch. Where can you soften further? What can you let go of? What are you hanging on to that is no longer serving you? last minute here in our half saddle pose. Last few breaths. And then with the support of your hands, again, really slowly, mindfully press yourself back up. Good. Lean into the left hand to swing your right leg forward. And then again, your moment of transition, maybe you're bending the knees and leaning back, whatever feels right to you here. And if the knees are bent, straighten the legs back out. And then props off to the side for now, or bolster off to the side, and then grab a hold of your blocks. And we're gonna place one block, we're gonna place it on the second level, lengthwise. And then you may or may not need the second block, but on the lowest setting as kind of a pillow for the head. And fish pose is the pose we're going into. We're going to slowly lower ourselves onto that first block so that the block's going in between the shoulder blades. If that doesn't work, you can always try and set your block up the other way. But if you're okay having the block in between the shoulder blades, lower down, and then the back of the head to the second block, arms out to the sides, palms up. So again, take a moment if you need to come back out of the pose and maneuver and adjust your blocks. Please do so, knowing that we're here for a little bit of time. So adjust as needed. And then find that stillness when you're ready. You may not even need the second block underneath your head. Your head might come comfortably all the way down to the ground. That's completely optional. Every body is different. Every practice is different. So something might feel wonderful in one practice and it might not necessarily work for you the next practice. So we always adjust according to each practice, each moment. So in this heart opener, really allowing ourselves to be open. So physically, this shape allows the heart to be open, the chest open, collarbones wide. We're allowing more air into the lungs here. But can we allow ourselves to really and truly be open? Open to all of the wonderful things that life has to offer. Breathing them in, breathing in all that we wish for in our lives on every inhale. Every exhale, using it as an opportunity to let go of what is no longer serving us, what we are no longer needing. Let your toes relax, fingers relaxed. Notice what comes up for you mentally and emotionally here in a heart opener. And again, does it change? Does it change your thoughts and emotions when you're opening the heart versus when we're working on opening the hips? Just notice. And again, notice the quality of your breath here. How does it change? Does it change? Can you allow yourself to truly be supported by the props, blocks underneath you? Not feeling the need to hold ourselves up, but can we let go and can we lean into this support? Do you allow yourself to be supported easily? Not just literally by props, but in your life. Do you accept and welcome support from others? Take your last few most intentional breaths of the practice. And as slowly and mindfully as we can, just roll yourself to one side. Slowly roll yourself off of your props. Come to your side just for a moment. Notice how the spine and chest are feeling here. And then let us come into our final resting pose, into Shavasana. So props will move off to the side. Grab a hold of anything you need for Shavasana. I like a bolster under my legs, under the knees, and then back to your spine. Get comfortable for Shavasana. So shoulders down away from the ears. Palms out and open if that feels good. A little wiggle within the hips if needed. And then close the eyes if you haven't yet. Notice how it might be a little easier to kind of surrender and drift off into your Shavasana when you're just finishing a yin practice. Notice how it might be a little easier than when we're practicing a vinyasa flow or something more fast-paced, and then we try and slip into Shavasana. Just notice if one is easier than the other for you. There's no right or wrong answer, but just notice. And if you haven't yet noticed any differences, practice with me later on this week for our vinyasa flow, and then see if you notice a difference as you drift into your Shavasana.
Start to bring your awareness to the breath and really focus on slowing it right down, softening the breath, softening the muscles of the face. Let the body get heavy. Let your heart be light. If you have the time to stay, please stay. Otherwise, start to take a few deeper breaths. Start to take some slight movements, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Slowly hug your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a big hug here, a moment to thank ourselves for making it onto our mats. Really slowly and gently rolling yourself to your side. Just a few breaths. Using the support of your hand to slowly press yourself up to any comfortable seated position. Bring our hands to heart center. Let's bow our head towards the hands. Taking a moment to thank our bodies for the work that they do for us every single day. Taking our little yet very important moment of gratitude. So please think of something or someone that you're grateful for today. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me again from afar. Namaste. Thank you.